All right, guys, welcome back to our YouTube channel. In this section, like I said, we are going to link our financial statement. We're going to start with the income statement, which is the profit or loss, as we usually say it to be. And we're going to start with our revenue. We're going to start with linking our revenue. So before we do that, first of all, let's try to format this. Let's say this, all of this will be format this to our explanatory. Yeah, so this is our explanatory. Now let's look at how we can link this up with all the calculations we have done. So we're going to link them up and see. So now the first thing we're going to do, we're going to just put equal to. Remember, we have already done all the calculations, so we don't need to do much again. We don't need to do any calculations here. All we need to do is just to marry them or to link them. So we're going to link them together. So once you put your equals to on the revenue, you now say equals to link, locate your revenue, and this is our revenue. Now this is very, very important. Let's see, let me show you something. If you put these values like this, you can see that the cell is a little bit wider and there are values that are longer than this, and this is where the use of our divisor becomes very, very important. Now if you look at by the left here, we have 1,000. What this means is that these values are in thousands. So to make it equal to this, if you leave it there, that means it will now translate to, you are adding these zeros here, it will now become billion. It's now become in billions, right? So if you add it here, instead of 916,400, it's now become 916 million. So we don't want it like that because of this sign. We have to be cautious of this sign. So this is in thousands, so we just say okay, equals to. Once you put your equals to sign, you go to your calculations, go to your revenue. Now divide it by the divisor. Divide it. In some cases we have to multiply back with the divisor. I will still show you in such instances. I will still show you how that works. So now we are going to now say okay. Once you do that, you can see the thing, it will even look more beautiful, and that's why when you look at financial statements, this is how they are built. They look more beautiful. So when you do that, you also link your cost of sales. Come to your cost of sales. This is your cost of sales divided by the divisor. Now divide it. Then we have your gross profit. Your gross profit, well, here, because this is a negative value, is not necessarily a negative value because it's something we minus. In accounting, we put all the negative values, something we use to equate something, we put them in negative, in bracket. I don't know what is wrong here. It's not supposed to be like this, but either way, let's just correct that immediately. Let's come back to our sales style guide. It's under general and normal. Just modify numbers, 2 decimal places, and this should be this. Okay, apply. So the thing is that it's going to also affect our date. I can change this manually and change this to general, right? I can change this to general, so it will affect everything. So we have to just be cautious of that. So when we do that here, now what you're going to do is equals to, you sum it. Once you sum it, you now put this in your subtotal style. Put it in your subtotal style. Now this is your gross profit margin. Your gross profit margin is going to be a gross profit divided by the revenue. Gross profit divided by the revenue is going to be a percentage, and it's going to be on explanatory. So this is going to be percentage. So it's going to be percentage like this. So when you're done with this, you can just click and drag further. You can see how it's going. So again, we can see this is our SG and A. We can see how we are coming up. SG and A, we can say equals to minus SG and A. Scroll down. This is your SG. Your SG and A. Your SG and A divided by the divisor. So divided by the divisor. And now we can say, because this is negative plus minus. What you're going to do is now is say is equals to this plus this, because this is already negative, is going to minus it. But if you say minus, is going to add it. So what you're going to do is to say minus and plus, to minus that for you. You can say equal to, alternate your sales style guide. You say subtotal sales style guide. Go further. Now we're going to also do the same thing here, the same thing we did here. So let's go ahead, formatting, right? We're going to apply the same thing here, F4. Now we're going to apply the same thing here, F4. Right. All right, so let's go ahead. This is also going to be our subtotal sales style guide. Subtotal. This is also going to be our subtotal, and this is going to be our total. We're going to use it as our total sales style guide. This is it. You can see our income statement is coming up gradually. So this is going to be equals to this divided by the revenue, right? Divided by the revenue. Click and drag it further. Click and drag. Then depreciation. You go to your calculations, you go down to your depreciation. What is your depreciation? What is your depreciation? That's the last schedule, right? So what is your depreciation? This is your depreciation. So depreciation divided by the what? Divisor. Now say divided by divisor equals to, now say this plus this. We're still going to put this in negative sign. So you put your negative sign at the back, right? When you do that, you now drag it, select it and drag it further. Now we have this, your EBIT margin, this divided by the revenue. Again, this divided by the revenue. Then we now have the interest expense. What is our interest expense? What is our interest expense? We go to our loan schedule. What is our interest expense? You go to our loan schedule. We can find our interest expense on our loan schedule. Yeah, this is our interest expense divided by the divisor. Now you have to put, always remember to put your negative sign. Consistency matters. This plus this plus this, we have this. So you click select or and drag further. You have this. Now our interest. Now what is our interest rate? Remember the same way we calculated, the way we calculated our our dividend. That's the same way we're going to calculate our interest rate. So our interest rate is going to be equals to, if this greater than 0, if it's greater than 0, then multiply this by this, right? Multiply the earning before interest, the earning before tax, that the EBT, multiply it by this, multiply it by the interest rate if it is positive. So we're going to we are going to go to our inputs. That's where we can find the tax rate, so okay, this is our tax rate. This is the tax rate we use. In some cases, what I usually like to do, I rename this. I will say tax rate. So instead of coming back to this place, what I will do in this case, I will just say equals to tax rate. So I'll multiply by the tax rate and press enter. It's going to give you the same thing, but don't forget to always add your negative sign at the back. Then you drag, right? You drag it like that. So when you now do, what you now do is you're going to say equals to this plus the tax expenses. Have this as your net income. You drag further, we have this as your net profit. Then the net profit is going to be this divided by your revenue, so we have this our net profit margin, right? Our net profit margin. This is our net profit margin. So you can see now we have now set up our income statement is now ready in no time. So where there is work, actually where there are a lot of work, is in the input and the calculation. So once you're able to get those ones ready, it is no more difficult for you to integrate those information you have already calculated into your income statement. So in the next section, we are going to be seeing how we are going to link our data into our balance sheet. Thank you for joining and staying tuned to this moment. In the next section, we are going to now look into how to integrate our balance sheet or statement of financial position with the calculations we have already made. So if you have not subscribed, again, please, this is the right time for you to support us by subscribing, commenting and sharing. Thank you very much, and see you in the next class.